Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second round of the FDL Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship here from Miami here tonight. Apologies for the technical issues getting us underway so far, but we are now at 6 minutes into the first race of the day. Kieran Potter got the pole and has pretty much controlled this race right from the very beginning. He's just set a new fastest lap as well, just to underscore his lead, which is now at nearly 6 seconds. Jackson Rihanna is the one giving chase. He's once again qualified maybe a bit lower than he could have done, because he's gained 6 places in 6 minutes to move up to second on his own. Danny Davison's still third, that's where he qualified. And Mark Hilly is in trouble because he was in the battle for second not so long ago. He's now got a meatball flag, and he is, even in any case, struggling to hang on to fourth position as well. So a little bit of misfortune for him at the start of this season, you would say, after he finished 29th after qualifying third last week. He's now got a meatball in the sprint race here at Miami as well. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Reece Gardner in commentary for you tonight. And Reece, it's the Miami International Circuit, which we obviously didn't have you at for the Formula Open just a couple of weeks ago. It's a great new circuit to have in iRacing, and seemingly providing big challenges for these drivers already.
Yeah. Challenge doesn't even begin to cover what happened on lap 1, I think. We had a massive incident at turn 1 where Ryan Borg got tapped around on entry after starting 4th, and that created a bit of a pile up. We had, by my count, about 4 or 5 cars involved. You'll see it here on the replay, so keeping an eye on Ryan Borg here as he went for the move, got tapped from behind, and that sent everyone splaying around. There were spins behind him. Madeline McGee spinning in front of him. There's quite a few drivers who are much further down the order than qualifying says they should be.
A moderate incident for Craig Edwards has given him a 10-second penalty already, by the way. That's for lap 1, turn 1 stuff, which is still being looked at, by the way. They've not quite got through all of that yet. Somebody dropping down there very quickly, and it is Craig Edwards. So that penalty is not going to matter so much. He's already at the back anyway. 35 started here tonight, so we should get everybody having points in the second race, but not in the first, where it is just a 15-minute race. We have got a 30-minute feature coming up a little bit later on that will have a pit stop within it as well. So we'll look out for that in the next couple of moments. But the battles are just starting to thin out a little bit now. Some of those drivers, though, who have worked their way through the field are starting to really get quite lofty. This is Tom Donoghue trying to get past Thomas Hinds on the way down to the final hairpin. A bit of a half defence from Hinds, a bit of a shake from Donoghue as he tries to look on. That's Kane Ryder, actually. Sorry, who's looking at the moment. Side by side out of the hairpin as well. Donoghue watches on from just in behind them as they come through this left and right onto the pit straight for the end of another lap, and indeed Kane Ryder will pull in front of Hinds, who just goes straight back to the other side and doesn't dive down the inside at turn 1 on this occasion. Just over 5 minutes remaining, and these are the only battles really left inside the top 10, because out front it's been it's a very big lead for Kieran Potter at the moment.
Yeah, Potter escaped the worst of what happened in the opening turns on lap 1, and he's just been minding his own business since. Holds the fastest lap of the race, 1:48.097, and holding on to some 5 seconds ahead of Jackson Rihanna and Danny Davison a little bit further behind too. Here's another view of what happened on lap 1, focusing a bit more on the midfield. Now, this happened behind the incident that Ryan Borg had. Car going airborne, massive smash, many cars damaged out of that. So I think there's going to be quite a few drivers, especially in this midfield, who will be hoping for a bit better luck in the feature race coming up a bit later. Oh man, that is huge. And that was right in the middle of the circuit too. Pretty much everyone having to take avoiding action there.
Yeah, another 10-second time penalty coming through for lap 1, turn 1, by the way, and it's Daniel Ackland who's got 10 seconds now as well as Craig Edwards. Not that it matters really for Edwards. He's not going to score any points anyway. But for Ackland, it might do. Although, I'd say everyone who's involved in this really is quite a long way down anyway. So maybe it won't matter so much anyway. Less than 5 minutes to go now, and this group is growing, actually. Sam Mort has been dragged into this, pretty much by Kane Ryder, who has gotten ahead of Thomas Hinds and is dragging the group with him. It's also dragged Tom Donoghue past as well of Thomas Hinz on the way down into the final corner there. No response from Hinz on that occasion down in towards turn number 1. 12th place in the opening round, by the way, was Hinz. Classically sort of consistent and not particularly eye-catching performance, but it's solid points enough at this early stage in the season. This is Tristan McLaren and Mark Hilly, who's only down to 12th. I thought he would drop a lot further down than that, Mark Hilly, but it shows that with a meatball, you can really get away without losing so much. 12th place is not bad at all, especially again when you consider where he finished in that first race last week, all the way down in 29th.
Yeah, rough start to the season for Healy, who was the Super Formula Lights champion season before last, and is hoping for a little bit better out of this. The incidents that we've seen at the start of this race have really benefited quite a few drivers, especially those who started outside of the top 20. I see Matthew Vince started 26th and is up to 9th and is solidly in the midst of that top 10, maybe going to get a bit of pressure from Giuliano Sinesi, who's not too far behind him. A lot of potential for slowdowns at that part of the circuit. Very fiddly, finicky chicane section where it's almost impossible to get through there in a way that you're happy with. But for the moment, holding on to it. Tristan McLaren from 32nd up to 13th. Jackie Chung making his way up from 35th all the way up to 21st as well. So those are the drivers that I'll be looking out for in race 2 to see if they can maintain those positions they've gained.
Yep, indeed. We'll see. Indeed, where they qualify in the second race as well. It's an open session, so we will show you when we get there. The opening session is only solo qualifying anyway, and Kieran Potter was able to go the best, although you only get 2 laps, so maybe that says more about it than anything. Sam Mort now overtaken by Kane Ryder, who's really ripping through the field late on here. 4th place now, which is 8 gained on where he qualified. Sam Mort back to where he started, and he'll be concerned, I think, that Tom Donoghue and Thomas Hinz might be able to go through on him as well, because that looked easy for Kane Ryder, who's now racing away immediately here. And is Donoghue close enough for a run maybe down the end of this, I hesitate to call back straight because it does constantly twist and turn all the way down to turn 11, but Donoghue in any case is not close enough for a move down in towards turn 11. And there it is. Decent overtaking chance, but actually it's been at the final corner really so far, in turn 1 where we've seen the moves at least late on in the race.
Yeah, longer straight line sections and plenty of good traction zones, actually. The thing with the sort of back straight hairpin, not this one coming up, but the one before the fiddly chicane section, it's a sort of medium speed corner that starts that section, so any mistakes made on traction basically resolved by the time they get to the braking zone. Here's once again Sam Mort under pressure, this time from Tom Donoghue around the outside. And Donoghue's going to let Mort have the apex, almost cuts back on him. But yeah, this is one of the ways that you can get a move at turn 1 is by unsettling your rival through the hairpin, hoping that they make a mistake. Mort evidently suffering a little in the straight line speed area. And unfortunately for Donoghue, he's still on the outside on the way into the corner. He's going to have to wait for another opportunity here.
He's got a better line through the opening chicanes though, and it is amazing how you can gain time there just by taking a different line through those opening twisty sections, although not really an overtaking chance coming up here. Fast left-hander first of all at turn 4, and turn 7, 8 maybe is your best chance to fire down the inside, but that's very, very tricky. I mean, they're already pretty on the limit, turning left as much as they are, never mind going further. A little bit over the curves there on the right hand side, and maybe that's going to allow Thomas Hinz to have a chance. He's much closer to Donoghue than Donoghue is to Mort, although Sam Mort doesn't have any slipstream here. Hinz has the double slipstream. Here he goes on the outside line as it just bends to the left here towards the turn 11 braking zone, hairpin. And he's not going to get far around there unless he can stay alongside for the next corner. And indeed he can. Well, he's been given the room actually. I think Donoghue was clear, but he's given him the room. And now they will have to get single file as it gets a lot tighter through here. Kane Ryder meantime spins over the curve through there, and that's 3 positions for the, well, it's 1 position, but they're free through 14 and 15, and we'll see how it happened in a second here as Kieran Potter comes towards the line in a moment. This is how it happened. We saw this plenty of times in the Formula Open 2 weeks ago, and I imagine we're going to see that again here in the Super Formula Lights as well. But out of the final corner and over the start finish line for Kieran Potter, he's going to win the sprint race here from Miami comfortably as well, by 8 seconds in the end, ahead of Jackson Rihanna, with Danny Davison third. Behind, Thomas Hinds and Tom Donoghue are going to be close together over the line, but it in the end is going to be Hinds who rounds out the top 5 just in front of Donoghue. Of course, that those guys slightly being promoted at the very end there to battling for 5th position at the line, which Hinds is just about able to get.
Just about. That's the end for the midfield as well, or the start of the midfield. A lot of good opportunities for drivers up the front to grab some great results, considering our reigning champion Sebastian Eskandari is absent this week due to real-life racing commitments. Battles to the line, and things will be sorted out there for 20th and 21st between Jack Munro and Jackie Chung. Jack Munro started 14th and was right in the middle of that whole palaver at turn 1. Still got Brendan Bonacci and Alexi Watson battling to the line. There they are there. Barely separated by a quarter of a second in the end. That's 25th place sorted. And then just Saragi, Searle and Stevens to round out the field. Everyone else, it was either a lap down or ended their race in the pits.
Indeed. Alex Stevens, the last driver on the lead lap, has actually got a 10-second time penalty, but that's not going to matter either. As we have a look around the Miami scenery, it's amazingly done, isn't it, in iRacing? The stadium, of course, to the right-hand side of the start-finish straight, the Hard Rock Stadium, and a remarkable bit of racetrack, that's for sure. Doesn't really feel like a street track, but it certainly is. That is for sure. Let's have a look at the race results, shall we? At the end of race number 1. Just 9 laps here in the 15 minutes, and a little bit more to come a little bit later. Kieran Potter wins by a long way, in fact, for this race distance, ahead of Jackson Rihanna and Danny Davison. Sam Moore holds on for 4th, ahead of that battle for 5th. We saw Thomas Hinds, Tom Donoghue, 5th and 6th. Ryan Bell ends up 7th. He's promoted to a gold driver, by the way, from now on. There are some others under monitoring, we're told. Kane rider Julian Arsenazi and Matthew Vince ran out the top 10, with Leif Hardy winning the silver class. Mark Hilly only just behind him after his fast repair, with Justin McLaren overtaken by Hilly late on. Madeline McGee and Shane McGee round out the top 15. Brody McConkey was next to Phil Vella. Anthony Bate, Marcus Gitz gains 11 places to get to 19th, head of Jack Munro rounds out the top 20. Jackie Chung gains 14 places, which is the tied second most of the field. Dan Ackland, Scott Bartine, Tom McKinns and Brendan Bonacci, as we just saw there, round out the top 25. Alexi Watson on the lead lap. So is Jet Saragi, Thomas Searle, Alex Stevens. One lap down for Ryan Ball, Chris Farrow, Jacob Bampton, and then non-finishers. 3 laps down for Sam Lightowners. Craig Edwards didn't finish, and neither did Miguel Costa Texera, who was out very, very early on. Indeed, after just the opening lap of this race, Todd Parks never started from 36th. Well, that's race 1 in the books here tonight in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship, supported by Everything Simulated. We'll just take a very short break, and we'll be back in a moment with the second race of 30 minutes from Miami. The second round of the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship here this season, supported by Everything Simulated. Myself, Unalira and Reece Gardner, about to bring you race number 2, for which qualifying is just underway now, with about 8 minutes to go. Apologies for the issues a little bit earlier on. We should be fine now, though. For the rest of this one, we'll just show you a little bit about what's obviously before this, what we're supposed to show before these races. Indeed, the calendar that we've already completed, now a quarter of at the end of this one. Spa on Miami. Navarra's next week for the first of 3 45-minute feature nights. Monza and Nurburgring will be the others. And the 2 other sprint rounds, apart from this one, will be Mosport and Adelaide. So 3 very tight circuits, actually, in 2 street tracks for our sprint rounds. Interlagos is our enduro finale at 60 minutes, which is, I think, the best way to do it. Let's have a look at the championship standings on the way into tonight as well. Sebastian Eskandari winning the race last week, although not here today because of in real life racing. So he will drop away, although there is a drop round. So that does put some pressure on him for those other rounds. But it will keep him afloat for now. Brody McConkie and Jackson Rihanna were on the podium with him. Ryan Borg gained 9 places to 4th ahead of Ryan Bell, who, as I say, was a silver at the time. He's been moved up to a gold now. Phil Vellers 6th ahead of Manon McGee, Tom Donoghue, Danny Davison. Anthony Bate then, retrospectively, the silver class leader, but we were told by Tom that there are some more drivers under monitoring. You'd imagine Bate is probably one of them. Alex Stevens, Thomas Hinz, Scott Bartine, the rest of the top 13. Once again, that's qualifying places for the Australian Open Wheel Nationals, by the way, at the end of this iRacing season. Dan Ackland, Craig Edwards ran at the top 15, and so on. 35 drivers scoring points last time out. 35 of the 42 that are entered into this season. A few who didn't score any points who are here today. Sam Lightlars, Kieran Potter, for example, qualified on pole last week as well, but didn't score any points at the end. We've also got Thomas Searle, Brendan Bonacci, all hoping that these are the first points scored this season for them. Let's have a look at qualifying again then, shall we, for race number 2 of tonight. And I can tell you that it's Kieran Potter again who is leading the way. 1:48.1 is his best time. This is an open session race, which does change things a little bit, but only in terms of traffic. In terms of how quickly he can go, Kieran Potter will still be able to go as quickly as before. And based on the qualifying session we saw before, and now the fact that he's got 2 poles out of 2, he's shown himself to be quite formidable in this particular session.
Yeah, certainly has. It appears that Miami is smiling on Kieran Potter, and the sun is certainly shining. We're looking at a dry race here. No rain expected, unlike last week where we were quite taken by surprise with the rain being dumped on the circuit in the final few laps. But they will be able to take full advantage of the grip of these cars, and a lap around here in these SFL machines is oh dear. Not without the potential for mistakes, it seems.
Yes, well, indeed. Yeah, it's going to be a theme of the day, you would imagine. Some purple sectors coming through already as we see some improvements. Jackson Rihanna going to the top, but Tom Donahue gets ahead of him. Well, that's a bit of a surprise perhaps. 47.9, his best currently, as he improves to the top of the standings. All of the top drivers make their way over now. Kane Ryder finishing that little run of drivers running over the line, but now Donahue at the top, and suddenly with one round of not improving there, Kieran Potter is down to 4th place. That's how quickly this session can change, and there's less than 4 minutes of it to go.
Yeah, indeed. Tom Donahue qualified in 20th for race 1, and by virtue of all the chaos, he elevated himself up to a top 10 position. It turns out that he's got plenty of pace underneath him, has our league administrator. We'll certainly see a little bit more from him in this session, I'm sure, but the first driver tonight to go under 1 minute 47 on a qualifying lap time. Slipstream, I think, playing its part in that, but the straights aren't the only notable thing about this circuit. It's really got some doozies of corners. From what I've noticed, the first sector, all the way from the exit of turn 1 to the entry of turn 5, I believe, is basically flat out in these cars. The throttle is pinned to the floor through the opening corners and the first part of the S's, and the slower sections, especially up the back, have already proven to have taken a few victims. It's very easy to have the cars clattering over a lot of these curbs. There's a mixture of curbs at Miami. Many of them are flat painted curbs, like the one you saw there through the final few corners, but Craig Edwards demonstrating to us the much higher curbs that are present in the first part of the lap. They can very easily unsettle you.
Yeah, they certainly can. Ryan Paul goes over the line with a purple first sector. How far will he go? Oh, not at all. Wow. Neither of the last 2 sectors he was improving. Kane Ryder moves up to 3rd place as well in these latter moments. Potter just not getting anywhere in these late lap times. He does need to find an improvement at some point in these next moments. Up the order goes Thomas Hinds as well, up into 4th position. But Craig Edwards still leads the session, and this is the sort of advantage, if you like, as far as a time is concerned anyway, of having a little bit more time. First of all, 10 minutes, which means you can get more than 2 laps in, which is what they were restricted to before race 1, but also they've got everybody out there on the circuit together as well, and with that momentum they can just continue to go quicker and quicker and quicker, and that's why we're seeing a couple of 47s. I wouldn't be surprised to see even more here before the end. Craig Edwards is not far away from the end of another lap here, down the back straight now for him. He's only just in front of Jackson Rihanna, who you can see in the background, who's only just in front of Tom Donahue, and a little bit further behind him is Kane Ryder. So 4 of the top 5 running very, very close to one another at the moment, and there are some purple sectors coming through, certainly some personal best coming through towards the line at the moment as well. Let's see where they get to though. Craig Edwards will be first of those to come over the line in just a second, and we'll see where he gets to now as the 47.8 is to beat, and no, he doesn't look like he's going to. He's pulling off to the side of the circuit there, and he doesn't look like he's going to at all. What about Tom Donahue here, who I think has got a purple first sector and is getting a nice toe to the line as well? Is this better than the current pole? It's Potter who goes to the top. Never mind Tom Donahue. Kieran Potter, the one who goes to the top with a 47.6, hadn't improved for ages, and now he's on the pole.
Excellent lap from Kieran Potter, and Ryan Borg just putting in a time good enough for 3rd. So he is hoping that Borg will be able to avoid the lap 1, turn 1 demons that he encountered in race 1 a short while ago. Big improvement for Phil Vella as well, up to 18th. Daniel Ackland goes from 23rd up to 20th, and Madeline McGee from 20th up to 16th. Some great improvements being made late on in the session. Mark Healy up from 10th to 5th. This is where the big improvements are made, right at the end of the session.
Yeah, absolutely. When the track's all rubbered in and everybody is on their last laps. Craig Edwards isn't going to get a chance to improve though. The checker flag's waving and he is down on pit lane. The first driver who's got a realistic chance of improving, probably Jackson Rihanna, who himself hasn't improved for a while, and in that time has managed to slip down into 8th position. We'll see what these sector times are looking like at the moment, but It's going to need to be pretty big as far as improvements are concerned if he wants to take the pole position away. Half a second is the gap between him and Kieran Potter at the moment, as he works his way now down the back straight towards the final corner. Big braking zone, as we know, and it doesn't look like he is going to improve, to be honest, unless he's doing something especially spectacular through these final corners here. The final hairpin of which is really the only chance you've got of improving at all. That's the last two corners are pretty much non-events. Over the line for Rihanna. Is this an improvement? I would very highly doubt it, and it indeed isn't an improvement at all. Also coming up towards the line at the moment, Ryan Borg is not far away at all. Decent sectors too, and he moves up into second place. Craig Edwards demoted, but still a tenth and a half for Kieran Potter to hold on to.
Incredible. Well, it looks like that's going to be the majority of the improvements we're going to see. I just seen one for Miguel Costa Texeira, moves up from 18th from almost outside the top 30 there. Very good lap there. Madeline McGee and Alex Stevens will reconsolidate themselves, move up to 14th and 15th respectively, as cars will be practicing their pit stops for sure. A pit stop will be required in this 30-minute race. So make sure that you have all of your marks sorted. This is really the last chance the drivers will have to practice that pit entry. But I'm seeing the track look effectively empty apart from this car we're keeping an eye on at the moment. And that is Jet Saragi, who's making his way through that turn 4, 5, 6S section and then through the never-ending turn 6 into turn 7. Well, he's going to give up on that. No other chance to make any improvements. Just 20 seconds remaining on the timer, and then we'll be kicked over to the race session to see who takes the longer race of the evening.
Indeed, and this one with a pit stop involved in it as well, which should just break up this race a little bit. So that's the qualifying session over, and we'll bring you the starting grid in just a moment when it's available. And quite some changes towards the end of that session there. Saragi moving up, perhaps one of the bigger surprises. There are the qualifying results, and indeed then the grid for race number 2. Kieran Potter takes the pole ahead of Ryan Borg, with Craig Edwards, Jet Saragi on row 2 with that late improvement. Tom Donahue and Mark Healy will be on row 3 ahead of Kane Ryder and Thomas Hinds, with Danny Davison and Jackson Rihanna rounding out the top 10. Tom McKinns has got the silver class pole ahead of Brodie McConkey, who finished on the podium last week. We'll struggle to do the same from there. Anthony Bate and Madeline McGee will be on row 7 in front of Alex Stevens and Giulio Arsenese. It's Ryan Bell who's all the way down in 17th ahead of Thomas Searle. Miguel Costa Texeira has qualified much better this time. He's 19th ahead of Alexia Watson, with Campbell Adams and Phil Vella on row 11. Dan Ackland and Scott Bartana on row 12. Chris Farrow running up top 25 alongside Matthew Vince. Jackie Chung and Jack Monroe are next ahead of Leif Hardy and Sam Latters running up the top 30. Marcus Kinska, Brendan Manatee, Jacob Bampton, Tristan McLaren, Sam Mort and Shane McGee have rounded out the field of, it should be, 36 drivers here for tonight's second race. No time from Mort or McGee, but Shane McGee is at least on the grid. Don't see Sam Mort yet. Hopefully he does get onto the grid as well. If everybody does get on, then it will be just the one driver missing out on points. Pretty much everybody gets them in this series, although the drop-off even from 1st to 10th is very large. About half the points for 10th than what you do for a win, so you can make up a surprising amount of points throughout the later rounds of this season. We'll see whether that comes into a factor at all. With Sebastian Eskandari not here tonight, maybe it will be a bit of a feature of this season. We're not far away from getting going then. Phil Vella is pretty much the only driver who needs to get himself onto the grid now, here from Miami, ready for race number 2 here in the Gripline Super Formula Lights Championship, presented by Everything Simulated. It's a spectacular circuit as we've seen. Let's hope the racing is just as spectacular as well over the course of tonight. Phil Vella is indeed on the grid now, so Sam Mort, so we should be ready to go here from Miami. Race number 2 is about to get underway, and it will be from the front. Kieran Potter underway well. Jet Saragi with a good start as well, getting ahead of Craig Edwards down in towards turn number 1. Do they all get through cleanly this time round? The answer is not quite as spectacular the incidents as last time round. Ryan Borg, though, is one of those who's dropping down the field very quickly.
And Mark Healy as well, going for a spin after getting into the rear of Jet Saragi on the way into the first turn. Not an ideal start for many, but Kieran Potter has skipped away to a solid lead now of about 2.2 seconds as everyone behind him has been fighting over second. Looks like Sam Mort has run into trouble. He had connection issues through practice and qualifying, so already starting at the back, and things haven't gotten better for him from there. But Craig Edwards is currently leading the battle for second. For how long, though? Jet Saragi up the inside at the first major braking zone they get to in the middle of the lap. That looked like a pretty easy move for him in the end, but I think Edwards might be thinking about the long term, especially considering they're still battling behind him. Danny Davison, Tom Donoghue, and Tom McInnes rounding out the top six there as they come into the very fiddly chicane section, clattering over those curbs. That's what took Kane Ryder out in race one. But interesting exit from Davison there, almost getting overtaken by Donoghue. It's a long freight train of cars behind them.
Yeah, it absolutely is. The gaps at the front have appeared again, much like what happened in race one, actually, but not all the way down the field this time around again, which is a repeat of before. Jackson Riano and Anthony Bates side by side, among those side by side anyway, down in towards the final hairpin here. Later on the brakes they go, and a spin through the final corner there. We've got front wings flying all over the place as well again. Well, it's been a lap one with incident, and that's no surprise, I suppose. Coming into the pit lane at the end of the opening lap, Jackson Riano, the first of them. Thomas Hinz, unsurprisingly, since he's got a meatball. But I wonder whether for Riano, whether that is strategy. You can pit in this series, don't forget, from lap one and make it to the end.
Yeah, exactly. And the drivers will need to take around about 11 litres of fuel to get to the end of this half-hour-long race. I think that might be a smart move from Rihanna. He was right in the thick of it in that battle up the front of the field, and now he has the opportunity to just go out there and set laps, do some qualifying laps, so to speak, to try and get some track position over his rivals if they need to stop a bit later. Remember, we do have virtual safety cars as well active in this series, so that may influence the strategy as well. For the moment, despite the chaos we've seen, nothing requiring a safety car intervention. Here's a replay of the start.
Yeah, we'll see again what happened down in towards turn number one and try and see how it all started. That's the stack up on the outside. Well, they were four wide briefly there, so maybe that gives a bit of a clue as to how the second bit happened. This is all the way down the field. This will be just people going very, very, very slowly to try and avoid getting caught up in stuff on the outside of that opening corner. It's much further up where the drama was, and there it is. Mark Hilly is actually the one who starts it all, and then he stopped on the apex. He does reverse out the way very quickly, clips someone on the way through, but it's actually Mark Hilly, the one who starts off that right up towards the front in towards turn one there.
Yeah, and it was just a case of running into the car in front, unfortunately for him. That was also what gave Hinz his mechanical black flag. He was right behind that inciting incident, and I think a car turned across him from what I saw in my review of things. But we'll see now. Oh, that is a secondary incident there on lap one. That's what took out the likes of Sam Mort, and it appears his teammate as well. That is far from ideal for the Proline Esports car. I believe might be Thomas Searle that got airborne there. Miami certainly bringing the drama tonight, and that's I think Alexei Watson that spun at the hairpin a little bit earlier.
Yeah. And we saw that live down to the hairpin, and then at the end of it all, Jackson Riano decides to come into the pit lane. I think strategy at play there. Thomas Hinz not far behind him, although he had a meatball to clear. They will be in traffic for most of this race. That is the big downside for them, a little bit further down in the field. This is the battle for the lead in the silver class. Tom McInnes and Anthony Bates are in a big group here, headed by Danny Davison, who's in fourth place. They're just behind Edwards and Saragi, who exchanged places briefly there. And those two are battling over second place. Again, Kieran Potter is getting away with this race lead with a big advantage. And Wonder whether we have been a bit blindsided by this because of his race results last week. But last week he got the pole position as well. He's got 2 poles today as well. Are we really starting to see a new challenger to Sebastian Eskandari's dominance, which he really showed last season?
Yeah, I think that's a solid possibility. Kieran's certainly getting a great leapfrog forward in the early stages of the season. Back to the battle for second, though. Jet Saragi trying to get back past Craig Edwards through the fiddly chicane underneath the bridge towards the end of the lap. He hit the curb wrong and got sent offline. Edwards was there to pounce on the back straight. Now it's up to Saragi to try and make his way back past. You can see maybe just a lift into turn 4 there as they flow through this beautiful section of corners into, honestly, quite a frustrating left-hander that tightens up at the very end. You get that wrong and you've got the whole back stretch to really suffer. We'll see on the replay here, problems for cars coming out of pit lane. One of the Proline cars there bouncing over the curbs. That's the number 50 of Thomas Searle. So Searle was not the car that went airborne on lap 1, potentially, or that might be a continuation of his problems with a spin on the way out of the pits. Bell, meanwhile, has gotten past Tom McGuinness. So McGuinness is back with Anthony Bate for the silver class lead. Ryan Bell up to P6.
Absolutely. It's 11 gained for Bell. So many groups up and down the racetrack. This is Jackie Chung at the head of another one. Miguel Costa Texeira, Scott Bartine, Leif Hardy, all in behind him. Coming under the bridge here and out onto the back straight towards the final hairpin there. So, yeah, so many groups around the field. Just further behind them, actually, Jack Munro set the fastest lap of the race last time round. Jacob Bampton has just been overtaken by him somehow. There with a 48.0 is very impressive, but yeah, I'd imagine slipstream probably involved there, which Kieran Potter, of course, doesn't have access to. A little bit further up the field, and this is Senese trying to get past Matthew Vince on the way down in towards turn number 1 here. So, oh no! They've made contact, big contact it is for Senese. They were chasing each other, being very aggressive with one another down towards turn 1, and in the end they make contact. Senese comes off second best by a long way, and he's got some fairly significant damage now.
Certainly has. Miscommunication between the drivers. I think Vince was trying to move left to cover Senese, but Giuliano, I believe, was just trying to hold his line there. Got sent airborne for his troubles, and Matthew Vince lost his rear wing in that little exchange too.
Yep, I'm not surprised. Case of neither of them backing out, really. Oh dear, that's...
Oh, things have gotten worse behind Vince. It looks like he might have triggered another incident. Miguel Costa Texeira is sprawled across the circuit, and Jackie Chung is on his roll hoop.
Oh dear, are we going to get a safety car perhaps for all of this? Out onto the back straight, up and over, and there you go. Yep, I think we're going to see our first... Would it be our first safety car of the season? I think it would be. I can't remember, last week already. But there he is, stuck on the... Oh dear, that's quite a roadblock, isn't it? Goodness me. Oh no, and he was clipped there. He was clipped by somebody on the way past. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, and there's obviously one car sideways, one upside down. Neither of them can move because of the part of the racetrack they're on. I would be very surprised not to see our first interruption of the season. There's more up over the curbs through the chicane again.
VSC has been called by race control, so the race has been neutralized, and we're going to see basically everybody who hasn't already pitted come into the pits this time around. So now it's a battle of the virtual pit crews as pit lane becomes a hive of activity. Just looking at that incident again, it doesn't look like it was really the fault of Matthew Vince. Yes, he was slow with a damaged car, as Craig Edwards has gotten a lightning stop and gone to the lead of the race. The incident, I think, was triggered more by Jackie Chung running a bit too far over the curb and spinning. Regardless, now they've got to slow up again. Craig Edwards is the one in control of the field, and he has the point.
It's not really disadvantaged those who pitted early. Rihanna's still 9th compared to 8th before, and Hinz is a bit... it was always going to be a bit further down anyway because he had a meatball, but Yes, that's it's pretty much as you were, but the change has come for the lead here, which is amazing, really, considering Kieran Potter had such an advantage over Craig Edwards, and the gap in the pit stops themselves only about a second or so. So I wonder whether Potter missed his box or something. But anyway, that is the change for the lead we've seen for the first time tonight in a race. Anyway. And Craig Edwards now at the front of the field. Now, the question is whether he can stay there, but it's had to happen at some point that if somebody's going to win this race other than Potter, somebody had to get in front of him at some stage, and that's what Edwards has done now, and he can defend from the front now.
Yeah, it all started on the back straight, I think, because the VSC was called, and I think Kieran Potter preemptively slowed down to more or less a VSC level pace. That allowed Edwards to catch right up, and then coming out of the box, Edwards got a lightning launch out of his pit stall, and he just managed to get ahead of Potter before pit exit. So it's a very significant change. Kieran Potter, the man, I think, with the most pace in the field here today, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not he'll be able to fight back in any capacity. We haven't really seen Edwards leading a race in a while.
Nope, not really. Up just 2 places from where he started in third. Craig Edwards last week, as I was mentioning before, finished down in 15th position, which is maybe a bit lower than what you'd expect from a driver who's been in and around contending for championships in the past. He's been there or thereabouts for many race wins in the past. Remember, we're going back there this season. The last race we had at Interlagos was quite a few seasons ago, but it was completely in the rain with no dry periods at all, and he absolutely dominated the field in a way that you very rarely see in this series. Very good in the rain, and doesn't even need the moisture here tonight for that to be the case. He's leading at the moment, and we're not expecting to see any rain, by the way, here tonight. We'll just wait to see everybody catch up to the back of the field. I think everybody's still in the race other than Jackie Chung. Thomas Searle is being let back past again so that he can go on and get back onto the lead lap. So we should have just a couple of laps under safety car, and then we'll be back under green again. And who knows what's going to happen, because effectively we're going to have our 15-minute sprint race just after a bit of a preamble for 15 minutes here. We're effectively going to have race 1 distance to go when we get back racing, I would imagine.
Yeah, looks like it's 17 minutes still on the clock, and under VSC conditions, a lap will take, well, it already takes nearly 2 minutes at full pace, so we'll have to wait and see how long this is going to take. But you're right, it's just going to be a case of maybe a 9-lap dash to the end. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of aggression come out from the drivers here, keeping an eye on positions gained and lost throughout the field. Obviously, Edwards up 2. Same for Tom Donoghue. It would appear that Jet Saragi is the only driver in the entire field that still occupies the position he started in, still in 4th place. Hard chargers include Tristan McLaren, who's up 13 places and 21st. Marcus Konitska has gained 12 positions to get up to 19th, and Campbell Adams and Phil Vella in 11th and 12th have gained 10 spots each. Same for Shane McGee down in 27th as well.
Remarkable stuff, and we see this so often in this series. The amount of guys who gain tens and tens of places is just remarkable, because we do get just under 40 every week, pretty much, between 30 and 40 anyway, and that's a sign of very good attendance from everybody. So yeah, it makes for great watching as well here from our side of things. Live for the next 6 weeks in a row, with the next rounds of this championship running all the way to the 3rd of March at Interlagos, which will be an hour-long finale. I think there's no better place to end a championship, in my opinion, than at Interlagos. And for the first time ever last season, we didn't get a last race of the season where the championship was still on the line. So hopefully that remains the only one. And to be honest, we've only seen one race of Sebastian Eskandari, haven't we? But I do think this is going to be a much closer season than last, I must say. Yeah,
I certainly hope that continues to be the case. You know, getting Kieran Potter in here, as his pace has been on the level that we saw from Eskandari last season. We don't really have many rounds to work with to make that statement, but his season has certainly started off in the best possible way. And with Eskandari obviously absent from this event, it's a good opportunity to grab a couple of top step places and see what you can do from there when Eskandari comes back. Some weaving happening now on the back stretch as drivers are getting ready to restart the race. We still see the waved around Thomas Searle. He's not far away from catching up to the rest of the pack, but he might not be able to catch back up to them by the time we go green again.
No, and Jackie Chung, even though he'll be in the train, will be a lap down as well. So a couple to watch out for there as Craig Edwards stops weaving, which is generally a sign he's about to go. We'll see whether he just goes sort of for the classic out the final corner. Yes, he does. And no surprises there, no tricks or anything, but he does get us back underway with a fairly sizable advantage over the rest of the field. Potter is over half a second behind. Tom Donoghue even further behind him. Will Jet Saragi have something to say about that? Coming down in towards turn number 1. The answer is no for the moment. Bit of a lock-up there from the race leader, Craig Edwards, and a few locking up, just trying to get that car slowed down in towards turn number 1. Less than 14 minutes to go in this race here from Miami. It's a proper sprint to the finish here for the victory between Edwards and Potter, and maybe a few others are going to join in as well.
Yeah, Edwards already quite aggressive through turns 5 and 6, but he had a big oversteer moment there coming through turn 6 into 7, and now Potter's right on the back of him for the race lead. Fighting still going on at the back of the field here, but oh my lord, replay there, and that is, I can't quite pick who that is, but unfortunately, it's Marcus Konitska that's spun around coming out of turn 1. Those curbs really play havoc with you. As we go back to live pictures, there is the lead back for Kieran Potter, and potential change for third as well. Donoghue and Saragi still fighting over that last spot on the podium.
And even more further down the back in the pack. Look at this for Rihanna. Really close side by side. And somebody has to back out. Rihanna in the end not the one to back out. Campbell Adams had to instead. And Rihanna holds on to 10th, but he has been overtaken for his 9th place, which is where he restarted this latest run from. Down in towards the final corner. Can they stay with Potter, I think, is the real question here. Edwards there especially, who's just in behind. Look at that in the background. Rihanna there weaving all over the place to try and keep Campbell Adams behind, but it's a bit of a forlorn hope at the moment. Lord, another look from Phil Vella there, who tried to get past them both in one go, couldn't quite do it. Oh, Rihanna's got caught up on the inside. What's he doing? That's a very slow exit there. It's almost like he caught the pit limiter maybe, and he had a really slow exit. He's dropping down the field. 14th place now. Is he going to get worse with Chris Farrow not far behind down in towards turn 1? No, in fact, he's going to gain a place back again. He wants to avenge those losses already, and he does get back past Alex Stevens pretty quickly.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. Jackson in danger of losing a ton of positions there. He lost a total of, I think, 5 or so positions on that lap. Brodie McConkey was the big beneficiary of it all. Managed to gain an extra couple of spots to move up into 8th. He is being chased by Anthony Bate, who still runs in 2nd place in the silver class. Tom McInnes in 7th place, leading silver for the time being. But how long will that last is the big question. The field's starting to spread out a little bit in most places, but it looks like the battle for third is still very much on here. Donoghue again trying to find his way past Saragi. And it looks like Saragi managing to get the position in the end, and now Donoghue's under pressure from Davison, Bell and McInnes.
That's the danger here. We've seen it time and time again for third place. For whatever reason, the top couple, or maybe a few, have gotten away at the front. Happened in race 1 as well, and behind it all goes into a big group. So that seems to be happening again here. Just in behind Saragi and Donoghue, we've got side by side between Bell and Davison coming down in towards the final corner. They get single file again in time for the hairpin. Not behind though. Brodie McConkey and Tom McInnes. McConkey gets into 7th place in front of the silver class leader, who is only just the silver class leader, in front of Anthony Bate, although how long is that going to last here? over the start finish line. Tom McKenzie's going to try and... No, he's actually going to stay behind here. And that just allows Anthony Bate to get that little bit closer here. These are two Silver Class drivers who are in very lofty positions inside the top 10.
Indeed. Some great battling going on there. Unfortunately, it appears things have gone very wrong for Kane Ryder and Mark Healy, two of our competitors here who should have been in the top 10, but it was when they were battling for 20th here that ultimately things went wrong, and Ryder trying to get back onto the track after running wide out of the hairpin, unfortunately went right into the side of Healy.
That was unusual, to be honest.
It's like the car didn't turn.
Yeah, it seemed like, I mean, I think there was a bit of that sort of the contact where you sort of stick together almost, and they just ended up going straight on as a result of that. But hard to really see without obviously being driving the cars, which of course we weren't. So it's going to be one of those that will be a bit of a mystery. Kieran Potter still leads, nearly a second. His gap over Craig Edwards, who was at the front and this restart about 5 minutes ago. But at the moment, nobody seems any match for Kieran Potter, who is just flying out there once again.
Yeah, Edwards, though, keeping the gap about a second behind, which is enough to get a whisper of slipstream in cars at this speed. We'll have to wait and see if there's any potential for him to make any moves up. Jet Saragi now got Ryan Bell behind him here, the car that we got a big dose of nose cone for a moment there. 5 laps to go, my timing is telling me, for these guys. So now's the time for Ryan Bell to start making moves. He certainly wants that third place finish that he's been threatening all night. It didn't work out for him in race 1, but coming up from 17th to 4th is quite an impressive run from Ryan Bell. Now he just needs to find his way past Saragi, which is difficult to do in these high-speed S-bends.
Yeah, it certainly is. Through the long left-hander now of 6, 7 and 8 onto the back straight, which is, again, not straight really, but it is a good overtaking chance when you get to the end of it here by the time you're at turn 11. Will there be a move here? He's gaining very quickly, actually. Indeed, is Ryan Bell here. Is this a podium place for the driver who started this season in the Silver Class? Immediately saw what he was driving like on round 1 and said, you need to go in the Gold Class, and he is now on the outside. He's going to have to switch back. Saragi goes off the circuit there and keeps the position. Track limits, I must say, through there do seem like a bit of a suggestion rather than an actual rule, because that's... You know, the wall is sort of keeping you into a reasonable track limit, but a lot of people do seem to run wide there anyway. Saragi did there just to help himself a little bit to keep that third place.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on to it for much longer. Keeping an eye on Donahue, he's got a great view of all of this. Bell finds room to the inside on the way up to the hairpin, braking as late as you dare for the slowest corner on the circuit. And it looks like Bell's managed to get that move done very nicely. Just needs to hold on now. Saragi, I haven't seen too much of him here at this round, but one thing's for sure, from what I've seen of him, he'll take whatever opportunity he can get, like down the front straight, a mammoth exit out of the hairpin, but he's gone a bit deep in turn 1, and Bell responds immediately.
Oh. Great move around the outside through 2 there, and great respect shown between the two of them as well, because that could have been contact very easily. And here comes Tom Donahue as well, looking. Is he going to get side by side into the S's? It would be brave, but he decides unsensible for the moment. And in behind, by the way, is Danny Davison, who will be looking to maybe gain a position or 2 as well. He's gone actually with the best line there, but Donahue's got a pretty good one as well here. Let's see whether he can get back past here on the back straight here, and is this going to go from bad to worse now for Jet Saragi as these two go side by side down the back straight? Here indeed comes Danny Davison. He's maybe going to take both of them. Is he going to switch to the inside? He will do. He uses Saragi there in the middle to keep distance between himself and Donahue. Switches right in front of him anyway and defends there. Donahue, no sooner had he got that position, he was defending it down into turn 11, and he's successfully done so. Davison doesn't even gain either of those positions in the end.
Yeah, the track is so wide on the way into that hairpin before it really narrows up for this section here. It's a great opportunity to basically put your car wherever you like, and as long as you can keep the speed up, you will be able to defend the position. So Davison going nowhere on that particular lap, but considering how hard they're fighting in front of him, he'll have plenty more chances to get it done in these final 3 laps. There goes Donahue, now up the inside of Bell. Ryan's going to have to give him room there to make his way through, but just pick up the slipstream through the last couple of corners and he can immediately respond at turn 1. Getting out of the slipstream there, was about to run into the back of Donahue, who goes very defensive into turn 1. How late do they dare brake is the question. Donahue again washing out a little wide on the exit, but this time there's nowhere for Bell to go. Oh, Saragi!
Oh, he's trying to... Well, there wasn't really anywhere for him to go either, but he did go down the inside there, and now he's been knocked back. Davison's alongside. Donahue's having to defend again into the S's as well. Oh, there's contact! Contact at high speed, and I don't think there's contact with the barriers for Ryan Bell, but he is spinning off the side of the circuit, and it's allowed a whole load more drivers to catch up, by the way. Brendan McConkie and Tom McInnes are now in this group, and there's a big group behind that are catching quickly, but Ryan Bell down to 21st, unfortunately for him, as a result of that slight bit of contact through the S's.
Yeah, losing his rear wing as well. He went hard into the barriers, and that was the rear end of the car impacted. So Saragi, in trying to defend from Davison, ended up getting into the rear corner of Saragi, who just smashes into the Tech Pro, fortunately holds the brakes and just avoids getting back onto the circuit in front of the cars approaching. So good incident avoidance there from Ryan Bell, but it would have been better for him if he wasn't in that position in the first place. He is still stopped in the runoff area there. Don't know if we're going to see a second VSC out of this. It might be too late in the race to do so. There's only 2 laps remaining.
I reckon it's far too late to do so now, unfortunately. So there you go. This is odd. Spinning through the S's as well for Tristan McLaren. Not sure what that was all about, to be honest with you. Looked like that was completely on his own at a place where you don't normally see spins like that. Should just go through some of the penalties, by the way, that we've seen so far. See after these replays, indeed. Oh dear, that was very, very close. There's Thomas Sir was pretty much blocking the entire racetrack here. This is oh dear. This is I didn't realise iRacing had a yacht. There you go. That's an interesting camera. Anyway, Chet Saragi dropping down a couple of places down into 8th position. Either way, as I say, I'll just go through some of the penalties just briefly. From this race, Jet Saragi has got a 10-second time penalty, for instance, with Ryan Borg on lap number 1. Thomas Searle has got another one, 20-second penalty to add to the 10-second. Sorry, he didn't actually get anything from race 1. That was gone back on in the end. 20-second time penalty, though, for an incident with Brendan Bonacci. And Megacross Texera towed without permission during this race. And he's got a 20-second time penalty as a result as well. So there are your penalties so far. Lots of investigations ongoing, and I'm sure we won't know the absolute final results until we begin this broadcast again next week. But there is a lot going on down there in race control. Meantime, Brady McConkie gets past Danny Davison. And what a recovery this is for McConkie. Up 8 places so far to go along with his podium that he got last week. I think he'll be relatively pleased with the start of his new season.
Yeah, some nice gains made in this race, and that was a lovely move that he put on Danny Davison as the hairpin. Just a straight-up out-braking manoeuvre, and managed to make the apex and stay ahead in the end. There's not going to be much of a chance for him to gain any more, though, because Tom Donahue is a few seconds ahead. It'll be pretty much impossible to make up that gap on the final lap unless there's a problem for Donahue. And the battling still going on behind. Tom McInnes here leading the silver class. Still got Campbell Adams and Jet Saragi separating himself from Anthony Bate, but everything could change here in these final 5.5 kilometres of racing.
Yeah, it certainly could. This is where it is going to change as well, if anywhere, inside the top 10. The white flag was waving there as you saw them come past the pit lane. There is just 1 lap to go. That's not quite the right line for Tom McInnes here, who's going to have Campbell Adams right behind him, eager to get through, but I wonder whether they'll all be put off going side by side through this section, and indeed Adams doesn't go for it yet, stacking up behind. Jet Saragi looking to regain some of these places, but remember, he's got a 10-second time penalty. At the moment, it would drop him all the way down to about 20th.
Yeah, certainly would. So I think Anthony Bates not going to have to worry too much about Saragi when it comes to the actual results screen. He will get points for 8th place in the end as the fight continues here on the way into the back section and the hairpin. Campbell Adams, Tom McInnes, and Jet Saragi. Jet trying to stick on the inside here. Is there room through the middle? Not quite, but just avoids making contact with Tom McInnes, who defends the move through the never-ending right-hander. And this is a single-file affair coming through the chicane. McInnes gets into the wall and somehow manages to make it too wide. Saragi with a great launch out of the corner, but McInnes still holds on, and it's going to be a drag race all the way to the hairpin.
Unbelievable between the two. You very rarely see that done cleanly, and they're going to fight this right to the very end. Time has elapsed, and Kieran Potter is going to take race victory here in race 2 as well as race 1 here from Miami in the Gripline Super 4-Wheeler Lights Championship here, presented by Everything Simulated. Kieran Potter wins again. What's going to happen in that group behind? As McConkey gets ahead of Davison, Potter wins. Who's going to come out with this position out of the final turn? Anthony Bates going to come through, and is he going to take the silver class victory as they come towards the line? Jet Saragi gets past McInnes, and it's Anthony Bate who wins the silver class. A remarkable finish. He wasn't even involved in the side-by-side we saw through that tight section there between McInnes and Saragi, and in the end Bate comes through, takes the important silver class lead, and he steals the victory at the very end.
Certainly does, and he did it in great fashion as well. We were, for a fraction of a second, we were 4 wide for that position as Thomas Hinz caught up to Anthony Bate and the other drivers in the battle. There was also an incident that we saw just off camera, Phil Vella spinning into the hairpin, and unfortunately Chris Farrow, an innocent victim in all of that. He crossed the line with no front wing on his car, but a very exciting finish there for the silver class. In the end, Anthony Bate separated from Tom McInnes by round about a 1/10 of a second, I'd call that.
Really not very much at all. In the end, a remarkable finish here from Miami. It's not necessarily for the race lead, where Kieran Potter has taken another dominant victory, but for the position further behind, Thomas Searle still hasn't come across the line yet, by the way. Waiting for him. That's why the marshal's still waving the checkered flag vigorously, waiting for Thomas Searle to come across the line, and there you go. Now completes the race with, unfortunately, only a, what is it? I can't remember. Oh yeah, 30th place finish, sorry, at the end, although he has got his first points of the season tonight, so no, there's some silver lining there. Let's have a look at the race results then at the end of race number 2 tonight from Miami. And it will be indeed Kieran Potter who has taken the race victory in the end by, as I say, just under 3 seconds ahead of Craig Edwards. Tom Donoghue will be on the podium as well from 3rd. Brady McConkey and Di Davison were close to the line as well for 4th place, with Campbell Adams eventually getting clear of that group, which was headed by Jet Saragi. Anthony Bate wins the silver class just in front of Tom McInnes in that dramatic photo finish. Thomas Hinz round out the top 20. Jackson Riano will be disappointed with top 10. Sorry, Jackson Riano will be disappointed with 11th, ahead of Alex Stevens, Ryan Borg, who were also in that group. Next group was Maddie McGee, Chris Farrow, Phil Vella, and Matthew Vince, who was 17th. Alexi Watson, Scott Bartan and Jack Munro round out the top 20, although Munro gets the fastest lap of the race. Dan Ackland was with him, with Sam Morton, Shane McGee also in a 2-car battle, as were Giulio Sinesi and Miguel Costa Texera, who will have a sizable penalty for towing without permission during that race. Marcus Knitska and Jacob Bantam had a photo finish themselves for 26th. Leif Hardy, Tristan McLaren and Thomas Searle rounded up the top 30. Jackie Chung was 1 lap down, Brendan Bonatti 2 down, Sam Lightyler's 3 down. In the end, Ryan Bell, confusingly, also only 2 down, but there's some towing going on there and it all gets a bit weird. Mark Healy and Kane Ryder were out on lap 9 together, and unfortunately, Mark Healy's difficult start to the season continues. Let's have a chat then to Kieran Potter, shall we, for the first time, who's won both races here tonight in Miami. Kieran, congratulations. 2 poles, 2 victories. How is that to achieve after last week, where you did manage the pole bit but not the race win? How does it feel to go back-to-back tonight?
Oh, I mean, it's nice to finally get to a race with no hardware issues or anything, and I don't know, I think it shows that if you put the time in and give it a bit of practice, and yeah, it's pretty, you get the results.
I don't know if you're aware, but we saw last season a very dominant performance from Sebastian Eskandari, and we're looking at the start of this season as to who is going to really challenge him. Do you feel like you could be the guy to challenge him now with 2 race victories already under your belt and 3 poles out of 3 so far?
I mean, I'd like to think so, but I don't know. From what I've seen, Eskandari was pretty quick, pretty consistent last season, so got to keep it up, and then see how we go as the season progresses, I guess.
All right, well, look forward to seeing the rest of the season. Congratulations on a double race victory tonight from Miami, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Kieran Potter, who finishes in first place twice tonight. Craig Edwards, in the end, was leading that race for some period, but ends up in second place. Craig, congratulations on a second place finish for race number 2, especially tonight. We'll chat about the second race first of all. You, as I say, were in the lead at one stage through the pit stop strategy, and then Potter overtook you and went on to win. Do you feel there was anything different you could have done tonight to win race 2, or was he just too quick?
Yeah, no, just too quick. He skipped away really fast in the first part of that race, and so I knew with him behind me on the restart, I was just going to let him go and let him carry me away to a clear second place, which, yeah, my master plan worked.
How have you or how do you look back on the first 2 rounds of this season now, with a podium in the second round, but 15th place in the opening race of the season last week, which is, by your standards, a little bit on the low side? How do you sort of look at these first 2 weeks?
Yeah, they haven't been very good. I was licking my lips when it started to rain at the last round, but as I went into the pits, I got a unsafe pit entry, so I'm spinning a little wide. So I'd sit there for 40 seconds, and yeah, 15th was all I could do. But yeah, tonight the sprint race didn't go very well either, so I think we can just call this race my start of my season and go from there.
Well, congratulations on getting in second place in that second race tonight, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. Craig Edwards, second place in race 2, in front of Tom Donoghue, who finishes on the podium tonight as well. Welcome in, Tom. Congratulations on a podium in the feature race tonight in the sprint round. How did you manage that above all? You were in quite a group at one stage and ended up clear by a couple of seconds on the podium positions. Is this a result you were necessarily expecting from this venue or not?
Yeah, this is one of those weird venues, similar to like Mexico last season, where I found that I was a lot quicker than usual. So I was expecting a good result. And yeah, I think when I got in that battle, I kind of knew if I picked the right moment to get into P3 and got the other 2 to fight, I think I'd be able to get away. And that's kind of what happened as I backed them up a little bit into that S section. I think someone got into the back of Ryan, and that gave me the gap.
How do you sort of, or what I should say, are you very much expecting from this season? You've already got 1 top 10 in a feature round. A 45-minute race last week got you an 8th place finish. It seems this started positively for you this season. Where are you hoping to finish?
Well, the goal is always getting the top 13 to try and make the Australian Open Wheel National race. But I think this season, if I can be in the top 8 or better, because I think I finished 8th last season, that's pretty much the goal. Just keep improving until one day I can hopefully win the thing.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing what you can do for the rest of the season, Tom. Congrats on a podium finish tonight in the second race, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Yeah, no worries. One last thing, I do want to give a shout out to my wife, because she gives me the time to run this whole league, which obviously takes a lot of time, and yeah, I really appreciate that. So thanks to my wife.
A very important message. There you go. Well done. Congrats on the third place finish. Tom Donoghue finishing off the podium places here tonight from Miami in race number 2. And we've, as has been unusual actually in recent weeks, but glad to see it, the silver class winner from race 2 also joining us, Anthony Batenow as well. Anthony, welcome in. Congratulations on a race win. We've got to start with the last lap, because that was crazy, really, not least for the overall positions. Jet Saragi was there, not in your silver class, of course, but Tom McKinn's there side by side with him, and you were 3 wide at one stage, the 3 of you. It was all happening in the end of that lap there. Tell us about the final lap and how you managed to get on for the win.
Yeah, so honestly, I had a slowdown leading up to that, and I just figured I was just going to be happy with whatever position I got there and give it to Tom. Couldn't really catch him anyways, but with everything that happened in the last lap, I ended up being there right in the slipstream, so I was like, why not? When in Rome, I'll send it.
And in the end, it's given you a race victory. We saw you get a race victory in the silver class last week as well, with a top 10 overall. How pleased are you with this start to the season?
Yeah, no, very good. Honestly, my last season was plagued with lots of incidents and lots of missed opportunities. So it feels good to finally be putting it all together.
Congratulations on doing that, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. That's Anthony Bate, who finishes in first in the silver class. Again, those guys are under, not investigation, but under review for who's actually going to make up the silver class for the remainder of this season. We'll keep you updated on that over the course of the coming weeks. I should just say, Reece, before we go, plenty of investigations still happening under race control. At the moment, Kieran Potter not following VSC procedure is one of those investigations. No result on that yet, and we're not going to hang around to wait and see it because we could be here forever. But interesting that is ongoing at the end there of a very dramatic Miami round.
Yeah, it's all been quite a lot to take in. I can't even begin to process the start of race 1, and the start of race 2 was a bit less chaotic, but still plenty happened, and plenty of drivers I think will be coming out of this round a little dissatisfied with how their event went. Fortunately, we'll have an opportunity to reset things in a week's time when we go for the first feature round of the season at Navarra. Probably a little bit less opportunity for big incidents there, a bit more of a reasonable track, I think, for close racing than this one, but still an incredibly exciting event, and I'm happy from a broadcast perspective. We got some great action tonight.
We absolutely did. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. Thanks for persevering with us as well as we had some issues early on, but hopefully it was all worth it in the end, and we enjoyed a couple of good races here at Miami tonight. We'll be back same time, same place next week from Navarra, the only Spanish round of the championship, and that will be a feature race of 45 minutes in length. As I say, that will be live same time, same place here on TrackSpotTV, so make sure you join us for that. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Reece Gardner, and we will be back, as I say, in 1 week's time from Navarra. Hope you can join us then, but from all of us here from Miami, it's goodbye for now.